So welcome everyone, my name's Rory, this is Kylie, and we are talking yet again on another process from the ITAM Accelerate process kit. And this month we are going to be looking at the software rationalisation process. So this is a great way again of looking after your IT garden. You're looking to trim and prune. Yes,
I pruned my razors the other day because it's spring.
Right. Okay. Good. Good. Yeah.
Spring at the time of speaking.
Nothing with gardening. I pushed the lawnmower around. That's about it. But yeah, really just making sure that you're corralling the software titles. But rather than taking a vendor-based view of the IT estate, so we might trim our Microsoft titles, for example, or Oracle titles periodically. What we're actually looking to do is saying, right, databases, PDF readers, Linux operating systems, any other classification that you can apply to your IT estate titles, and looking at them in the round. So we don't care who the vendor is at this point, we're looking at all of them. So once we've gathered all those titles under that classification, whatever that band might be, what do we actually do next? Well, we actually look to review the titles within that classification at that point as well. So we take a view as to how they compare to their vendor roadmap relative to our own requirements. So that's really important as well. We look at cost as well and price. So that's always a favourable comparison. And we look how all of these varying technologies sit against our enterprise technology framework as well. So are they going to serve us 6, 12, 18, 2 years down the line? Off the back of all of that analysis, then there is a rationalisation plan to be had, because there will be some titles that will need sunsetting. There will be some that you will be happy to keep on the estate and review again, say in 12 months' time.
And I just want to jump in here. I think we have a tendency to feel that this process needs to be all or nothing. So PDF readers are a classic example, for instance. There's this sense of we've got to get ourselves down to one. But it might not necessarily be right to just have one. You might have a particular department that have a specific requirement that's not fulfilled by the cheapy PDF reader, so they have to use a more expensive one. And I was having a chat with somebody last year sometime, or maybe the year before, who was saying, that she'd tried to do a PDF writer rationalisation, but she failed. And I said, why? Why did you fail? Oh, because the engineers refused to get rid of their expensive PDF writer. And I thought about it, and I thought, actually, I know the reason why. And that's because there's only a couple of PDF writers on the market that will actually not mess up the measurements in the real world. So that if you say that something's 5 centimeters on this, in the application, and then print it out, there's only a couple on the market that will actually print out a line that is 5 centimeters long if you measure it with a ruler. And of course, if you're an engineer, that's really important, right? You need to be confident that your measurements are absolute. Most people, it doesn't matter, but an engineer is going to be really particular about what PDF writer they use. And the reason I know this is because I dabble a little bit in dressmaking.
Oh, okay.
And so if you buy a pattern online and then print it out yourself, they say you have to use the Acrobat PDF reader, because otherwise it won't print out the right size, and of course your clothes will be too small. Yeah. But of course engineers will have the same problem. So anyway, so that's a really good example of this rationalisation plan. It's not as simple as just saying let's get rid of all of these other, get rid of everything and standardise on one. This rationalisation plan actually involves talking to your business partners and the people who are actually using the software, and understanding why they're using what they're using, and really work with them to make sure that your rationalisation recommendations meet their requirements. Yeah. And of course, walking that line between we're special and the reality of actually we are special can be really tricky. But you do need to bear in mind that actually sometimes people are using a particular piece of software for a very good reason. Yeah. And you have to understand what that is, or you're not going to be successful. So the irony is that this person I was speaking with, she hadn't failed at all. No. The only failure was that she hadn't understood her engineers well enough. Yeah.
Well, and equally, just sticking on that PDF and that Acrobat scenario, my sister's particular former place of work was a certain hospital, and the requests for Acrobat were going in all the time. I need Acrobat, need Acrobat, need Acrobat. Why? And then they started asking, you know, and I think even then it was like 140 quid a pop.
Right.
Why do you need Acrobat? Oh, I need to read this PDF. Oh, right, so you need the reader. You need the free reader that you don't have to spend 140 quid on.
Yeah.
So even having those sort of conversations and understanding the context of requests as they come in can save you an awful lot of money and time. And even getting to this point saying, we're going to swap out Acrobat for Reader. So, it's just those little tips and tricks. They're the obvious ones, really. So just going back to the process, after we've defined our rationalisation plan, we've made a decision. These are the title or titles we are going to move forward with, and these are the ones we're perhaps going to sunset or get rid of. Of course, you've got this idea that if there is still a requirement to read PDFs, we need to roll out the reader. So we hand out to a deployment process to replace what we're potentially removing, Adobe Acrobat. Other titles do exist. I'm not picking on Adobe, I hasten to add. So we go through that, so we don't leave people short with functionality around getting on with their jobs and living their lives in the work environment. But off the back of that, then there is a consequence. This is where the power comes in for the software asset manager then at that point, is that we can refresh our catalogue accordingly. So if we do have a traffic light system, I know we've got a traffic light system plus, because I was in my head have red, amber, green.
I think we changed that.
Yeah, we did.
So it was more words rather than colours.
Yeah, so there's exceptions. You can have a different shade of green for stuff that
legacy software.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's in the supported software catalogues.
Yeah, but it gives you a chance to refresh that and define your scope and qualify your scope at a software application or software title level, which is really important. Yeah. And it could be too that in going through this removal exercise, then we are actually purging the last of several titles, which could in turn hand out to a contract termination process as well. So we're proactive with that. We're not waiting to the end of the contract before we actually terminate it. We can terminate it early so we don't accidentally forget and have to then auto renew.
Yeah.
So it's good to be like that, because you just trip over yourself otherwise, potentially, if you just think I'll do that next week or whatever.
But also you've got to do this in order to drive a lot of the benefits. So you get a lot of so this process done successfully will drive two different types of benefits. One is economies of scope, which is because you're managing fewer software titles, the administrative burden of managing those software titles is reduced. So that's economies of scope. And then you're also potentially building up economies of scale, which more people are familiar with economies of scale, where you can drive cheaper prices because you've got a lot more. Instead of 10 different applications or 10 different types of software with 50 installs each, you've got one software title that has 500 installs. So of course that 500 installs gives you much more economies of scale, and you can drive down the price.
Yeah.
So really driving the benefits of this process mean that you need to link into your contract management processes, both to cancel the 9x50, and then also when you get to your contract review process, you can really try and drive the cost down because of your economies of scale. So you've also got other benefits just in terms of simple support. You know, it's going to be so much simpler to support just one software title rather than 10. So those are the economies of scope. So you'll get those anyway just by simply reducing the number of software titles on your estate. But actually really driving software savings is you have to engage with your contract management processes.
Yeah. And if we think back to the software approvals process as well that we went through previously, the people who are approving software coming onto the estate are going to be equally happy that you're pruning that list.
Yeah.
Because InfoSec are going to be happy that an already established and approved title is secure and is then not laying points of entry and exit onto the IT estate. Patching and version, whoever looks after version control, most likely service management, they're going to be happy as well because they're not dealing with 9 different packages, they're dealing with one then at that point.
So these are all economies of scope.
Yeah.
So I would say that this is actually a really, really difficult process to implement well. It's very time consuming. You run up against a lot of people saying, no, but I really need to keep this piece of software for whatever reason because we're special. And occasionally you'll actually find somebody who is actually special, as I did say. So, you know, I actually also would really say only do this process if you're confident that the benefits will absolutely outweigh the amount of work that goes into doing it. It's a really challenging process.
That is one of those things I think that the map, or any process map for that matter, doesn't necessarily allude to. Because if we hand out to say software deployment process and removal process as part of the rationalisation that happens on the IT estate, that is a boatload of work for people in service management to actually do, or IT ops, or whoever's actually doing that piece of work.
Yeah.
So merely just having a Visio saying, oh yes, and just do that and do the other, it's great in theory, but again,
really hard.
It could be that the cost of doing that outweighs the commercial benefit at the other end. So it may just be you just want to let those things go fallow and cancel at the point of contract termination as well. So having that one eye on the fiscal real world is, I think, is a good tip and trick that comes out of this process as well.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so I think that's it really.
I think so. Yeah, this was one of those. Oh, we'll hit the 10-minute mark here, no problem. And
Suddenly
we
are
over. We are over again. That's fine. I think we are going to revise our target to 12 minutes, and then we're golden. We have one. Yeah.
Anyway, and on that note, and with 10 seconds to spare, goodbye.
We'll see you around. All right, take care.